See how this works. Yo, what's going on, guys? This is Off the Ropes Boxing MMA podcast. This is George
And this is Julian,
with
man. What's going on, people? How we doing?
Hey, we're doing good, man. This is our first live on YouTube.
Yep.
I see we're getting
This
some
is
views there. We got a couple of views going up. Welcome,
this is
guys, to
about to
Off
be
the
fun.
Ropes. This is gonna be a fun one. We're definitely gonna get into some recap of the Porter and Crawford. I know we should have done this the beginning of the week, but we just know how everything how went for Porter and Crawford. Like, I wouldn't know if you would call it controversy or not, but it just was so much that happened, and
Yeah.
I just wanted to hear or see, some more input on what other people thought about what happened in the past. So, Julian, welcome. We're here.
Yeah. We're
You
here,
know,
man. Having a
even though
good
we
night
got
right
one,
here.
even though we got one view right now, it's all good. We're just gonna flow with it like this is any ordinary podcast. So, first things first, I think we got to give our flowers, right? Our flowers to Shawn Porter for an awesome
Hey,
career.
yeah, for sure, man. Great, illustrious career. Um, I mean, Me personally, the outcome of this fight was, it didn't make his career to me. I believe we saw the best Porter we've seen, of his career. He Porter, man. What can you say about him and his dad? Kenny Porter, father son duo.
Yeah,
They've been around for years. Shawn Porter and Kenny Porter have been in some wars. Just a good example. What really brought Shawn Porter out to me was the Devin Alexander fight when we
mm,
found out who Shawn Porter was.
yes,
A lot of people were pretty much saying, that Shawn Porter, it was too soon for Shawn Porter to get a title shot. Nobody believed that he would win that fight, and he did. He came out, he won the fight. He pretty much did, what Shawn Porter does. He took it to his opponent,
it's very true.
and that's when we found out about him. But going to the Crawford, I think we saw the best Porter that we've seen, in his career. And I believe he pulled out all the stops. Him big ups to the man who actually gave us the big fights that we wanted to see in the welterweight division. He fought some wars. Just a few to name out there: Keith Thurman. We have Danny Garcia, Devin Alexander, Andre Berto, in which he knocked out.
Which which was
It's
my
just like
favorite fight.
a lot of like fights like that Shawn Porter gave us these shows.
Hmm.
And a lot of these weren't even title fights. I mean, you could the Danny Garcia fight was a vacant fight, correct, for the vacant
Yeah,
welterweight title,
yes, it was.
and and he beat him. He came out and he did what he lost that fight, right? Danny Garcia.
Yeah, Danny Garcia lost that fight, a really
Yeah,
close fight. It was a split decision, and it's like in any of the fights that Shawn Porter's that's been in that was really close. Like he's tooth and nail, and every fight he's had against anybody is ugly, dude. Like he's not an easy opponent. He makes these fights. I don't want to say ugly, like his style isn't good to watch, but it's his style the way he is. He's aggressive, like he's in your face. Um, he just makes it tough for anybody that he goes against. You
agreed.
know, and you mentioned that the Devin Alexander being one of your favorite fights. That definitely was one of my favorites, but I just feel like a good defining win before a Garcia was the Andre Berto for me. It was the Andre Berto fight. That was a fight he fought after he lost to Keith Thurman.
Yes.
Um, you hear both sides of it where people were saying, "Oh, this was um, his." I guess this was an ugly fight. He was dirty. There was headbutts. People said that it was like like he was playing like he was fighting like it was football, and that's just Shawn Porter. He just loved to be on the inside. He mixed it up really well. He used a lot of aggressive tactics. And it's fighting. At the end of the day, when you look at boxing, it's fighting. It's not just one style to boxing. It's not just a box from the outside. It's the sweet science. There's everything to it.
No, completely
Yeah,
agreed. His style was just different from every other fighter in that division.
yeah,
I mean, before the before the before the Crawford fight, this dude got into a war. I mean, what 2 years ago with Earl Spence.
hmm
I mean, he took it to Earl Spence. I mean, don't get me wrong, it went all the way, of course, but it's Shawn Porter.
yeah,
I mean, look what just happened this past weekend. I mean, he probably, well, just going into it, going into the fight, from this past weekend, I mean, he showed the Shawn Porter we're used to seeing. The aggressive, type. I'm gonna come at you. I'm gonna make you beat me with your combos or I'm gonna make you beat me, by points.
yeah,
Which the fight was, I mean, it was a damn good fight. I mean, it was what we wanted to see from him
hmm
this past weekend. And Crawford, I mean, big ups to TC, on this fight too. I mean, for being the first to stop the great Shawn Porter.
very true.
And I mean, you got to give the props where they're given to. Shawn Porter went in there with the better welterweight, if you don't mind me saying that. I mean, personally,
No, you.
I had Porter up by one.
hmm
Watching the fight 3 times, I actually glanced at it a couple more times. But to me personally, I just felt Porter was up by 1 round going into the 10th, and it just felt to me, just it was like Porter just went in there like with his sword, man, and just say, "I'm gonna die on it." In this
hmm
fight, what I felt,
Yeah,
like yeah, I felt he just
yeah, for
ran in
sure.
there, bro, and that's Shawn Porter for you. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
the career of a monster, the career of a one of the best welterweights, that we grew up seeing.
yes.
And just watching his career, I mean, he's only what 34, right?
34. Yeah,
Yeah, 34 years old. I mean, we've seen him come a long way, to this point. And big ups to the career of Shawn Porter.
yeah, for sure. And
Yeah, what's your take on his career,
my
man? I mean,
take
I
on
know
it,
I know you're a big time Showtime fan, man. So
yeah, no, for sure, man. When it comes to Sean Porter, like he sets a really good example, like especially for these young, even amateur guys, even these guys that are in profession or that are coming up professional, because he went after everybody, And at the end of the day, what people will remember, just think about it. Look at it this way. And we're not going to say certain fighters didn't fight certain guys at the right time, or they waited too long, or they should have never fought them. But when you think about it, just now is when people talk about Sean Porter, they're like, what's the first thing they say? He fought everybody, even
the
though he didn't win. Like he went after the toughest competition, win or lose. He showed up, he showed out, and I think if these young fighters are looking for some kind of boxing role model, like Sean Porter, in and out of the ring, like he's a gentleman in the ring, a gentleman outside of the ring. You, I love his commentating. His podcast is really great. Porterway
yes,
podcast. It's a good podcast, man, and he tries to keep it clean as possible. And and it's hard when you're a grown man.
yeah, it
It's
is.
hard to try to keep it PG 13, but you just let it slip out. And hey, and like I said, he's a good example of what some of these young guys should be following. Just go back, you know, all the fights that he's done. But again, big ups to Sean Porter, an amazing career, and he'll always be remembered for everything he's done in and out of the ring, especially for taking anybody at the top. And I think, um, the thing I guess was if he was. So what I thought was loser or draw, he was going to retire. But there was
Yes.
also the second half of that question was if he won, would he continue fighting? And I would say yes. I think even if he was the win, that he still would continue on with his career because that's kind of the whole point, right? Like you lose or you draw, you're like, well, I'm not gonna stick around and try to be somebody's stepping stone. And he's young enough. He's young enough still, even though he's had his last couple fights were wars. He's been knocked down like in the last four fights, maybe like four times. And
Yeah, no, which is correct.
yeah,
He's the big time like problem with Porter. Of course, we saw his whole career had been the lunging thing. You know, moving forward, getting caught by a lot of those punches, and like we said, sad to say, this past weekend we had to see the Shawn Porter go down to the mistakes that he's pretty much made his career.
yeah,
Which
totally.
had pretty much has been his only mistakes that he's made his career was that lunging.
Yeah,
And I don't, me personally, he wasn't really a big time defensive fighter, but he was a well rounded offensive fighter, which
yeah.
saved him in a lot of fights.
It was, yeah,
His
you're right. That was kind of like his hill, especially in this one. Like he did well, like you said, you watched it three times. I watched it three times, and each time I was the other way. I had Crawford up by one round each
yeah, and
time.
a lot of people did. I could see why.
Hmm.
There was a lot of swing rounds in this fight.
Yeah, my swing rounds.
There was a plenty of swing. I'm thinking from the fourth round on, it could have went either way, but I believe like the first two rounds were the fill out rounds. I pretty much changed my second round to TC
Hmm.
watching the fight again. I had Porter up 3-1 going into the fourth. Actually, first time watching it. But like I said, I kept watching it, and the next two times I seen it, TC won the second round. And that's pretty much what told me, hey, this is gonna be a freaking battle. I mean, this
Yeah,
is this is about to get entertaining. And Shawn Porter kept that pressure on him all night. I don't think I've seen Shawn Porter miss as much. Terrence Crawford missed as much that in his career like he did. He didn't have his jab, which was weird to me. And which is weird to me. Seeing Crawford go at it. He didn't establish his jab. He couldn't really figure him out till the eighth round. Once the eighth round came, I believe it turned around big time.
mhm.
The puzzle was solved already, but you could sense the urgency from Bomag. You know, like, and pretty much from TC, that's when he said, "Well, I'm gonna turn it on. It's
Yeah.
time to
I
turn it on."
I do agree that from the 10th round. Well, the 10th round. So actually, going in the 10th round, they told him like, "Hey, you might be down," and that right
Yep.
there just shows the
Who he
difference
is.
of like
Who he is.
a number one compared to like an elite. Like the elite guy just had that switch. He switched it on, and he went for it, and he did. I mean, for like 2 days we were going back and forth. I was
Hell
like, oh
yeah,
shit, no more.
going at
Is
it.
off the rope? Is off the ropes gonna? Is this the breakup? Is this? I'm just kidding, but no, dude. I mean, that's like I told you too in the beginning, like or even before this fight, like we're gonna have our fights where we're gonna agree to disagree. Um, I didn't have it 3-1 at that moment. I actually had, of course, Porter winning the first one, the first round, and then 2, 3, 4. I had Crawford, and I didn't really see him miss too much. I did see him miss, um, but if we're gonna go like off copy box numbers, Porter missed more than Crawford. The only
Oh
thing
yeah, well he
is,
was throwing way more Wilder.
yeah,
Just to get to Crawford.
the only difference is Crawford landed at a higher percentage because he didn't throw as many. He landed more than what Porter did. So if we're gonna do, we're gonna go off the copy box, which they may
And they
be
were more
accurate.
effective punches. Let's put it
They
that
were
way. Crawford had
they
the
definitely
more
were more.
effective punches.
Yeah, they definitely were more effective rounds.
We saw Porter's power leave. I believe after the fifth round. After the fifth round, it wasn't the same fight. The body shot started racking up for Terrence.
Yeah, my swing round.
It was the best. I think this is the best body work that Terrence Crawford has done his whole career. I ain't gonna
Yeah,
lie to you.
I think for me, my swing round, like I have it written down right here, was the fifth and the seventh. So I actually gave um, Porter 1, 5, and 7, and I think maybe six. Like so, six was another swing round for me. But um, you can so in that seventh round, I think those were like the best exchanges. But I feel Crawford had the better exchanges, and actually, I think I even wrote it down. Like probably right around the fifth is when I started to see the jab land. For me, I just saw the jab land more, and that was the game plan. That's and you hear it in the corner, like Bo Mack is telling him, like, hey, look it, we need to box more because the more we box, he's gonna come aggressive. He's gonna attack, and that's
Yeah.
what's gonna create
And he did say
our
that. He
openings and our
did.
counters.
No, he
So
did say
that's
that.
where
He
I
even
feel
told
at.
him, "Don't get into a firefight with the guy.
Yeah,
Don't get
and
into a firefight with him because that's what he wants. That's what Shawn Porter wanted, a
yeah,
firefight." But Terrence Crawford is a boxer.
he's a boxer puncher.
He's a boxer puncher. Yes, exactly. You stole that out of my mouth.
Yeah,
He's a
and
boxer
that could be
puncher,
his.
and
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
could.
it showed. I mean, it definitely showed. Like I said, after the fifth round, I mean, like you said, a swing round from 5 through 7 could have went anywhere,
Mm,
anywhere. I mean, like it was to me. I mean, it was just hard for me to even to judge. I mean, from that point, because I was just like, holy shit, like like TC starting to land now, But I mean, Shawn Porter had his early. I mean, let's just say this: TC closed out the rounds.
yeah, and you
He
do the
closed
thing.
out the rounds
And the
when
thing
he
you got to
he
do
knew he
too
needed to.
is, yeah, the thing you got to do too is when you with these fights, it really exists. Like the champion gets the benefit of the doubt
Mm-hmm.
of the round or even the fight. So even if it came down close to it, like they were gonna give Crawford the benefit of the doubt. But I guess which brings us to our point. Again, we even today, like we're still kind of agreeing to disagree, which is totally fine because if we both agree, like someone's lying, like we're lying in this fucking in this like this relationship we have with off the rope. So I'm glad we are because there's gonna be plenty more where we disagree, and
Yeah, I
and
mean,
I just don't want you to
it's
think
just two
that.
different views. I mean, everybody
Yeah,
has them.
exactly,
Everybody
and
has them. I mean,
you know,
shit
for,
happens.
yeah, and then what I seen too a lot is when I was listening to other podcasts or I was watching other shows, there was moments or there was actually when they were discussing it, which I guess we'll bring into the next topic is the stoppage. The
Yeah,
stoppage on what Kenny did. So a lot of what I've seen and what I've seen for myself, and I don't know if you experienced it, but in the moment, of course, when it happens, the fight, that's when it obviously matters, right? It's not like the fight ends and then 2 days later or 3 days later it's like, hey, by the way, we need to change it. That never really happens
hell no, it
unless there was
doesn't.
like some kind of controversial where
No,
something really bad happens. But in the moment, I know everybody in the house and myself were like, what the hell's going on? Like he got up, he looked fine, and so
not
we
his
were all
legs,
stopped.
but
Yeah,
not his legs.
and then the second time watching it, because I watched it the next morning while I was cutting hair, and my friend was saying the same thing. He's like, man, Porter looks good, but I feel like Crawford is closing the rounds out a little bit better. He was landing the more effective punches. He looked a little more sharper, which the good thing from Porter was he wasn't the usual his usual self being aggressive. He boxed really well from the outside. He was aggressive when
Mm-hmm.
he chose to, and then like you said from the fifth round, I actually was saying maybe like the seventh round is when you saw the difference of the body shot starting to take a toll on
That
Porter.
loud body shot was the
And the
game
eighth round,
changer,
it was the eighth
and we
round.
talked about it. Remember, like that body shot
Hmm.
is what really took Porter out of the game. Like
Yeah, and
that
he
body
started to
shot
go to
really
his
woke
style.
up. That woke up the beast in TC
That just tells
after
you,
that
man.
shot.
Yeah. Yeah, that
I
just
mean, I
tells
could
you
actually
this
say that
style.
because I mean, I appreciate body game. Like the body game to me. I mean, as a Mexican like fighters and a fan of Mexican fighters, I feel enough fighters don't commit to the body.
Yeah, no, they
And
don't.
TC did that beautifully. Like this is his best body working fight I've seen him ever. Like I'm not
Yeah,
gonna even lie to you, bro. I mean, I've seen a lot of his fights. I've seen
yeah,
plenty of his fights, but I don't think I've ever seen him go to the body like he did to Porter, like he did in this fight. And it made a difference. I mean, going to the body makes a difference, and it opened up a lot of opportunities for TC. I mean,
hmm,
Kenny Porter did the right thing. I
yeah,
mean, looking at it, he protected his fighter.
yeah. I think there was a lot of
TC, yeah,
factors.
TC had the killer instinct after that second knockdown.
Yeah,
I mean,
and there
me
was a lot of
personally,
factors
me,
going into that,
yeah. I mean,
into his decision.
yeah. I mean, me personally, the second one didn't look like a knockdown, but the legs aren't under Shawn Porter.
Mm-mm.
People had to see that too. I mean, yes, we argued about that too, but like I said, watching it again, I mean, you don't have the legs under you. What are you gonna do
Yeah,
when
it took him a
when a
little
fighter
bit.
like TC is coming at you? I mean,
Yeah,
he's
it
not gonna
took him a
stop.
little bit. Yeah, it
He's
took
not
him a
gonna
little
stop.
bit. Yeah, it took him a little bit to get up. Like he didn't look completely out of it, but you
But he
can
was
tell
pissed.
there was a. I think it's because I feel like the fatigue is what set into him. And he's thinking in his mind like, shit, like I got two more rounds to go. This is the beginning of. This is pretty much the middle of the 10th round. Like I gotta. He was trying to psych
Beginning of
himself
the
out.
end.
Beginning of the end. Yeah, he was trying to psych himself out. But again, going back to it, when we go back and you listen to other podcasts or other YouTube channels, everybody changed their mind watching it the second time. Everybody
Yeah,
was
I
like,
mean,
at least the actual boxing fans, like the actual ones that understand, not like these trolls or these casuals that automatically think certain, if they think outside, they don't think outside the box, or they don't see the type of things we see in boxing. So
yeah,
I definitely, at the moment, I was like, damn, it almost threw an asterisk right next to Crawford's win, not fully, but to a point, because we know that Crawford's a great finisher. So, like I was telling you, I think there was a lot that went into Kenny's um, decision. I feel
yeah,
like there was a little bit of panic because yes, it's Crawford. He knows what
yes,
he does. He finishes his fighters off when he has them hurt, and I think leading into it, like the last five fights, he went down four times. He went down all four times, and when he did get up from the other ones, okay, let's say Ugas wasn't an official knockdown, but that was he went he went to the doghouse on that fight, dude. He went tooth and nail with Ugas, and
yep.
on
Which
the
Ugas won. I mean,
Ugas
I have
like
Ugas winning that fight. Ugas
yes he
did
did,
win that fight,
yes he did.
but I mean, that's just another thing, like we said with Shawn Porter. I mean, he's just a dog in the ring. He just had a legendary career.
Hmm.
I mean, like I said, I mean, he had the downs, but I mean, a lot of them were ups. I mean, in our eyes, a lot of those downs were battles,
Hmm.
and we can't say they weren't because we pretty much watched all of them.
Yeah, dude, for sure. So I guess, do you think do you think like Kenny panicked, or do you think it was some other factors that kind of went
No,
into it as
no,
well,
he
huh?
didn't panic. He's looking out for not only his son, he's looking
Mhm.
out for his boxer. I mean, you see this, you see a lot of guys wanting to. I mean, take for example, there's a fight. Actually, the undercard. A guy even told the judge, the referee, "I want to die. I want to die in here today." Like, dude, hell no, no, you're not. Like this, your corner's there to protect you. I mean, it's just like one of those. I mean, what if something would have happened to Porter? Say Kenny Porter would have let it go on.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been like one of those things, possibly like a Drago freaking versus Apollo thing. I mean, we don't want to see that kind of shit.
Yeah, he even said it too. He's like, "Look, I got grandkids. We live across the street.
Hmm.
We're scheduled to go have breakfast in the morning. Like that's what he wanted to do. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I understand Shawn was upset, but I mean, at the end of the day, his Kenny made the perfect choice. I mean, I don't think his choice of words at the end of the fight were.
yeah,
I mean, I
that
kind of think it was a low blow, to his own son, his fighter that he's trained his whole life. I mean, it was a low blow completely, but I mean, I could see the frustration and I believe the anger that Shawn Porter had after the second knockdown would have definitely got him knocked completely knocked out.
yeah, it would
I
have,
mean,
and
anger doesn't
even
lead to good things. We all know that.
yeah, and this so when the first knockdown happened, my brother-in-law, he actually bet on the fight that they would both knock each other at down, and then Crawford win from 10 on. So once that 10th round happened, that first knockdown went. I looked at him, I was like, dude, this is kind of what happens. Crawford hurts the guy, and he gets a little bit over anxious, and he ends up getting a little bit hurt. So I'm like, just wait. There might still be a chance that Porter might land something that might hurt Crawford, but I don't think that
I
was the
mean,
case.
Right? Formella was the one that landed a good one on TC, right? At one point, was that him?
There were
Or Miller,
him. There
he's the one that
was
knocked him
even
down, correct?
Gamboa.
Or was it the machine? I think it was the
The, ma-
machine.
yeah, it wasn't a. They didn't count the knockdown, but he did go
Yeah,
down.
but it was a knockdown. I mean, I believe it was, but they didn't
Yeah,
call it.
same thing with
But
Gamboa.
I mean, yeah, things like that. I mean, things like that could happen in boxing. I mean, we've seen it happen time and time again. You
Yeah,
know, but
and
I mean, TC does overcommit a lot.
mhm.
You know, when he gets over anxious, gets excited,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it does get him caught. I mean, we saw a few flashes of it in this fight too. He got wanted to get into that firefight. Well, okay, I could do this, but figured, oh shit, I can't do that right now. Now I got a box.
Yeah, and in this fight, you can see there was really no like urgency, and even in that 10th round when he told him that he might be down, like he didn't look like in a hurry. He just knew what he had to do. He had the task
Hmm.
at hand, and he had to do what he had to do.
He did what a
So
champion does.
yeah,
You know
so
what a
which
champion does? Goes after you.
kind of staying on that on the subject of this fight. There was two things that we heard. One, we heard that there was 190,000 pay-per-view buys. The second official one was what 132,000.
That is,
So
oh
so
man.
so getting into that, um, Sean Terrence Crawford was on Shawn Porter's podcast and he had mentioned like, look at you know what, from the beginning this was already set to fail because they put us on an app, ESPN Plus pay-per-view. And then with those package deals comes, Hulu, you can get Disney Plus. So I even was seeing some people were confused on what to do. But we understand how to work apps. But that was Terrence Crawford's big thing was he felt like his older fans, because he has, that older crowd, they even were supposedly calling him or calling his family members or calling people that he knows that they couldn't figure out how to get this working. So
Yeah.
what do you think? What do you think of that, Julian? Like, what is
Yeah.
your thought? What do you know that I don't know that you need to tell me?
135K. All right. Crawford is the second biggest name in sports, I guess you could say, in boxing as of this past weekend.
Yes.
I mean, people are talking about how he's one of the greatest, too. There's been a lot of layoff for Crawford, too, fighting once a year. At the most 2 times a year, maybe. If we're lucky to see him twice a year.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I just think it's kind of bullshit when he talks about that kind of thing. I mean, because ESPN the app has been around for a little bit, and ESPN pay-per-views have been doing this for about a year now. Um, I mean, it's nothing new. I mean, you can't say nobody can find the app. This is the new era. You can't
Yeah.
say the older generation can't ask for help on how to do this.
Okay. And
Um,
so you saying it's been around a year. So does that mean that it was because how many pay-per-view boxing fight events have there been?
I think this is the third one.
This is the
Actually,
third
no,
one.
fifth with
Maybe
the UFCs. With
okay,
UFC,
okay. No, we're
with
not
this
counting
five.
UFC. I know, not counting UFC because this
This is the
is
second boxing one.
and that was Fury and Wilder, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But look at how many buys that did. You can't tell me people know Wilder more than TC.
I don't know.
If TC is the pound for pound champ of the world, bro, I mean, you know that name. I mean, the buys. I mean, why? I mean, going into this too, why doesn't Eddie Hearn want to sign him? I
That
mean,
which that
what is that? What is that telling you? Like, does that saying that you can't generate money? Because honestly, this was his first pay per view that he headlined.
yeah.
Okay, I mean, it's the first major pay per view he's ever headlined. I mean, all his fights have been free pretty much on ESPN, on Fox. All my fights I've seen have been free. That from TC, other than this past weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the first one I buy from him. I mean, I got it. You can't say. I mean, people like me didn't buy. I mean, I'm trying to help these guys out. I mean, we're paying for their income too. I mean, this is how they get paid.
Yeah, we support it.
But 135K, man, compared to what Canelo did against Plant 2 weeks ago.
That's yeah,
I
I
mean,
agree. You can't really
800K, bro.
compare. Yeah, we
Yeah,
can't really compare the
800K to
two.
135. I mean, you're calling this dude the pound for pound dude, and he can't even generate 200K in buys. I mean, Spence and Garcia did more. Did 320. I mean, I don't know what to. I don't know if he's just being marketed wrong by Bob, or the if it
It's
had
not
to
like
do with
he,
TC's crew. I mean, who knows? I mean, we don't know
yeah,
that.
and it's not like there's no support from the fans because he obviously has mentioned that he was like the top selling fighter for the last 5 years for Top Rank. Like when it comes to seat wise,
Yeah, when it
like
comes to
filling
putting
the
asses in
arenas.
the seats, yes.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
something is off there. What it is, we don't like. It's hard to really pinpoint, and I don't think he should have an issue or would be having issues trying to sell. I like that word "great." I think is just pushed around,
Yeah,
freely, and it shouldn't be. I
too
mean, we
much.
obviously know that there's only one person right now that is worthy of pay-per-view, and it's not Javante Davis.
No, heck no,
It's
heck no. I
Canelo, of
mean,
course, and I think it's just I believe, yeah, I think he's obviously leaving, right? He's done with Top Rank.
he's
You saw what
gone.
he said at the end, so
He's
there's definitely
gone.
something there. There's definitely something there with this promotion that they didn't want to push it. I was even reading and I was hearing other places that said that he's not that he's hot, that he's not hard to work with. It's just I guess just the way he comes off, and you can kind of see it like in the blood, sweat, and tears. He's like
Hmm.
almost has like a chip on his shoulder everywhere he goes. Nothing
He
wrong
has
with
a
that.
cockiness to him, that I think a lot of people are intimidated by. Promotion
Yeah,
wise.
I think it might be intimidation wise.
Yeah, but I mean TC. I mean, going to like promotions. I mean, he's been with Top Rank his whole career. He's seen the success Canelo's having being a free agent. I mean, Devin Haney's a free agent, but he's working with Eddie Hearn.
Mm,
I mean, you have freaking so many. I mean, you have go to another example. We have Mayweather. He's always been his boss. I mean, to me personally, a TC should be going alone. I mean, he
yeah,
definitely should be on his own to get the money that he actually deserves in fights,
yeah. Which
and to
which is
actually,
kind of one was what is like that was definitely that was one of our questions in there was, where should he go? So hypothetically speaking, like if he had no choice to choose but to choose a promotion place to go, who do you think suits, fits him best?
oh man, I mean, I would say DAZN and Eddie Hearn would have been his best
Yeah,
bet, but Eddie, like I said, doesn't want to work with him. I mean, apparently there's something that he knows that we don't. Um, Top Rank had their chance. Bobby had his chance. Al Heyman, I feel, doesn't make the right fights.
no,
You know, what else? PBC is just full of a weak stable. I mean, other than Earl Spence, which we have to see TC and Earl Spence go at it. They are the number one and two welterweights in the division now.
yeah. You want to hear something? I think I told you that interesting fact, right? That anybody that comes in to fight from a different company to fight top ranked fight. I mean, PBC fighters, they're like 4-12. Like when it comes
Yeah.
to championship fights, so that's you know to I guess get off a little bit off subject, which would be something we'll talk about later.
Yes.
Maybe this is why this fight hasn't happened right away because to, Terrence Crawford is top was top rank, and they obviously want to try to keep these belts in house. So they want to try to keep them to themselves as much as they can because what if Terrence Crawford was to win? Like what does that do for PBC and what does that do for
There goes their
Terrence?
cash cow.
Yeah, there goes your cash cow, and they do have some pretty good talent there. They do have some pretty good talent there, but that's like your number one guy, someone in the top five for pound.
So, what do you
You
think
lose the
about this?
opportunity. Yeah, you lose that opportunity. Where does that leave you? Other than a rematch, you promote it better. You probably make more money off the rematch
Hmm.
depending on how the first fight goes.
So, what do you think about Crawford signing with MTK Global and Frank Warren?
That's not a bad choice because I feel like
I think that's
MTK
a great
is kind
choice.
of yeah MTK is kind of like the zone in a way. So that's so like back to the hypothetical question, the zone was like the
That's
perfect choice for me
hmm
because
that's what I want.
it seems like everybody kind of works with these guys. And for Eddie Hearn to come out and say that, I don't even think it's TC. I think it's kind of like when you go to a job and you hear about this other guy not to work, that for you not to hire him because you've heard so many things about him. So I don't think it's anything TC's done. I think it's just he probably feels, some kind of entitlement to Bob Arum. That's what I think, which is messed up because you're messing up dude's money and
Yep.
there's just so many more fights that you could do there. There's that
The welterweight
147
division
is
is filled with people
everywhere.
you could throw in. I mean, you have, I mean, you have Spence. Like we said, that's the fight we want to see. But I just feel that fight's gonna get played out like the Pacquiao Mayweather fight. Like
Which
as
is
of
a
this point
shame.
right now, that's how I'm feeling about that fight happening. It's just gonna be like one of those Pacquiao Mayweather things where TC's only gonna get older. Spence is either gonna go up his next fight. He's either gonna look good his next fight or he's gonna look like shit because of
Yeah,
his eye. But we
it's
don't
and
know.
that's yeah,
We don't know that exactly. But
yeah. That's the sad thing that's what we're accustomed to now. Like these fights that don't happen right away. Like there's they procrastinate or they feel like they need to build this fight. Like how much more do you need to build it? Like we already know who the top guys are in that division. Like all you're doing is just risking for them to lose. Just look at AJ. Like Fury said, he loses one more time. Like that's off. Like that's off the table. Like there's no more
yep.
AJ and Fury. And look, and there's nothing wrong with it. Like I know Eddie Hearn gets a lot of shit for having the most rematches, but you got to look what he's doing. He's putting the best with the
He's
best. He's not putting no BS fights up. He's putting up guys that could challenge themselves. If they truly think they're the best, he's like, okay, well, here's the other best guy.
Let's
Best
do it.
man wins.
Let's
Yeah,
dance.
best man wins. And AJ's come up short a few times. But I think in all seriousness, I think he should go free agent or even work some kind of
hmm
one-off deals with some of these other promotions where it's like, all right, look at um I fight your top guy, rematch clause, whatever. That'd be the only second fight that I have under your guys' banner. But you know, I what I bring to the table is my name, Terrence Crawford, and it does suck because the 135K is kind of like it's like a deal breaker on paper. It's a deal breaker on paper. People see it
Who gets
as
paid? How are they gonna get paid?
yeah,
Technically, pretty much that money's gonna go to promotions in your corner.
hmm
That's
yeah,
what do you? I highly doubt TC and I doubt Shawn Porter's gonna see his half. Like I very highly doubt it with the low numbers. As I was reading a story today too, about that, and it kind of made sense to me. That they're probably not going to even see 10%. Both of them aren't probably going to even see 10% of that money,
damn,
and
yeah.
that's kind of
Somebody lost their
embarrassing.
ass.
That's embarrassing. I think as a being the top pound for pound, one of the top. Like number two, three, whatever you have him at. In your book, because he's supposed to be your cash crop, and
It's
this,
hard to really say. To me, it's
yeah, it
really hard
is.
to say because we obviously know who he is. Like people have him anywhere between, and people do have him anywhere between 1 and 3. People do have him anywhere between 1 and 3. Like I said, I
One
have
in
him either
five. I've seen him 1 in 5.
yeah 1 and 5, and it's really hard to say. I don't even like to me it's still a mystery, and then when it comes to it, like men lie, numbers lie, but I mean women lie, men lie, but numbers don't, and that's what sucks is on paper it shows 135,000 pay-per-view buys, and dude, it's like for me, like even now, I'm sure once when we hang up or we go away for the night, it's still gonna haunt me or it's still gonna bother me because it shouldn't even be that. It should at least be at the least 300, at
Yeah,
least
really.
300. If he would have came with at least 300, you know, maybe Eddie Hearn would okay, let's jump with it. But just Eddie Hearn alone, I think he has like that. He has that pulling power, he has that promotion power that he can promote that fight and make that fight
He
happen.
sells out. He sells out like with English fighters, bro. He sells out things with Ted Cheeseman, bro. No bit, no. Like not to bring him down. I like Ted Cheeseman a lot.
Yeah.
He's just all brawler. I don't know if you know who he is. But from the UK, Ted Cheeseman, he's a cool dude. He just fought about 2 weeks ago. Got into it. One of the best, probably one of the fight of the year candidates too.
Mm.
He got into it, man, and he. But I mean, like, if a guy like that could sell out a stadium in England and produce over 200K buys overseas, I mean, that tells you what Eddie Hearn can do for you.
And the crazy thing about it, the UK fans, they love their fighters.
Heck yeah, they do. They're
They
their pride
definitely
and
love their
joy.
fighters.
Just like the Mexicans, that's their pride and joy.
Yeah, they
I
definitely do.
mean, this their boxers are their pride and joy. I mean, here we love our boxers, man, but there's too much of this going on here in the
Yeah,
United States right
and
now.
people are starting to see that. They're starting to see the bullshit and they're tired of it. So I guess we can move on a little bit. Still kind of on the same subject. Thurman showed his interest in it. Thurman says he wants a fight in between. He can see this fight happening in 8 months. But
Take out
Crawford,
the ring rust,
yeah,
though.
Crawford came back and was like, "Look, if you really are truly you think you're that good, why do you need a tune up?" But on that hand, I think what it is, I think he's taking advantage of it. It's like some kind of advantage, saying, you know what, maybe he does have ring rust. So, what do you think? Do you think there is a Thurman fight or a Taylor fight, or where does Crawford go next?
I personally, now is the time to see what the hell Crawford can do. Now is the time, right? Now, you want people like me to get you out of that little shithole we have you in, of being great. I think the Josh
And there's
Taylor
very
fight
few that
right
think
now.
that. Yeah, and there's very
Yeah,
few
I
that
think.
think that.
Yeah, I think the Josh Taylor fight right now. I think after Catterall, after he gets through Catterall, I think that fight needs to happen, just to show us that TC is gonna get in there with the best now. He's gonna go after those belts. I want to see him do that. As for Keith Thurman, if he wants to get the ring rust off, I'd say come back and fight a tough Sergey Lipnitz or Abel Ramos.
Yeah, Abel
I mean,
Ramos, he's got some fighters that he's fought already. He's fought like
hmm
Ugas and a couple other guys.
yeah,
Maurice
but what? But
Hooker.
but wouldn't you fight Lipnitz though? I mean, Lipnitz is another good welterweight. I mean, he's still in the top 10. He's
Yeah, he
still in
got
the top
blown out
10.
by
Keith
Boots
Thurman.
though.
Keith Thurman currently isn't ranked in the welterweight division because of his inactivity. Just letting you know, he's not. There's 20 other fighters above him right now. And that's
Yeah,
kind of crazy because of the inactivity ever since Pacquiao laid a can on him.
that wasn't very long ago. Yeah.
Yeah, that was 3 years ago, right? It's
Hmm.
almost 3 years that he hasn't fought.
Damn, the time
That we were,
flies.
I mean, that's a lot. That's a long time. I mean, one time was fighting 2 times a year at one point, 3 times a year at one point before that
Yeah.
happened. And then, like I said, I mean, he put Danny Garcia in his place, and then he came out and performed against Pacquiao, and Pacquiao, the speed showed too much. I mean, he's not ready for Crawford. If Pacquiao's speed got to him, what makes you think Crawford's speed's not going to get to you?
Yeah. I think with the Taylor fight, that's not a bad fight to make, but that I think what it is too is that was Bob Arum putting that in people's ear. That's him being the promoter because who does Josh Taylor fight for? Top
Well,
rank.
Eddie Hearn talked about it too already.
Yeah.
Eddie
I
Hearn has
mean,
already brought it to his attention.
I think I mean, I would like to see that too, but I don't think that happens only because it's like that. Okay, well, I'm giving into why I left Top Rank. So, and it's not like that's the only guy he could fight. Um,
But Josh Taylor's in the top 10 pound for pound.
but he's a 140 fight. He's a 140, not a 147. So then he
But he's
beats Josh
actually a natural
Taylor.
147. Just to let you know.
Okay, I mean, look at, I mean, all of us are a certain weight, and then we could lose it. But so he fights Josh Taylor for Josh Taylor's first fight at 147. Oh, well, he fought a smaller guy, even though Josh Taylor looks bigger than him. It. I think what matters is the weight when your official skate, your official weight on the scale. Like people were never happy. Like even
Nope.
with him beating Shawn Porter, and he showed why he is elite because he actually tapped into that next level. People still aren't gonna really give him what he deserves. And then same thing if he beats Josh Taylor, I still feel like people won't give him. that the credit that is due. They're gonna be like, oh, well, he fought a 140, a natural 140-pound fighter, even though Josh Taylor is naturally bigger.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly. But I mean, I just feel Josh Taylor would. He's a much smarter fighter than Shawn Porter, and I'm gonna say that right now. I feel the. I mean, I feel he has. I mean, yes, we've seen Taylor hit quite a bit. Especially what 2 fights ago when
by a
won the
slow
titles.
Ramirez too. Yeah, with a
Yeah,
slower
I mean,
Ramirez.
he got tagged. That was a damn good fight, though. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, TC is very quick, but it's just Josh Taylor likes to go to the body too. Josh Taylor will take hits in order to give hits.
I
You
I
know,
don't know. Yeah, I see what you mean, but
but that's just. I mean, it's just to see. I mean, what happens. But that's just the fight that I think would kind of set him up for a Spence brawl,
mhm.
and maybe Spence will fight. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, he could fight what? They're talking about. Jeez Louise, what the hell's his name? Ugas. They're
Oh,
talking about him.
Spence. Yeah,
Yeah, having Ugas Spence. I mean, in June.
yeah.
Spence.
That's close to being that fight could be possibly made.
I mean, it
I
actually
read that
is. I,
too.
I think so too. I think
That's
that
a
fight's actually going to
possibility.
happen because Ugas is actually fighting not to fight Stantonis. I mean, but Stantonis is a fucking beast. I mean, I'm just gonna say that right now. That guy is a freaking monster in the ring. He has power too, and he ain't no pushover. And I guess I could see why Ugas doesn't want to take that mandatory fight. But he wants
He's
to fight
due. He's
Spence.
owed
But
what
I
he's
mean,
due.
but he will
Yeah.
go after Spence though, which doesn't make no sense to me.
Who? Stantonis.
No, Ugas.
You don't think that makes sense?
No, no, no. I want him to fight
Oh,
Stantonis.
okay.
But Ugas is fighting not to get that fight. He wants to surpass that fight to go after the WBC title.
Which he deserves.
Yes, he
He
does. I mean,
definitely
after what
deserves
he
that
did with
fight.
Manny Pacquiao, one of the greatest boxers of all time. I mean, I understand he's an older Pacquiao, but I mean, he kind of embarrassed one of the biggest champions of our lifetime. I mean, and he did it in a in a damn good fashion too.
Hmm.
I mean, but will that same Uga show up if he fought a Spence? Will that same Uga show up if he fought Stantonis? That's,
Ugas.
I mean,
Yeah.
he does have what, 4 losses, 5 losses, Uga,
Yeah.
I believe. But
I think
it's
it's
hey, I
four.
mean, but like we said, I mean, losses don't make fighters. I mean, you make the damn fight in there. I mean, but yeah, I could see Crawford like going after Taylor and setting up the Spence. I mean, Spence Ugas, winner of that, of course, takes on TC or Josh
Yeah.
Taylor.
I see the Spence fight happening before Josh Taylor. I think I don't know. I hate, like I said, we're so acclimated to think that these fights won't happen because of what other fights that happened in the past. I feel like we might get a curveball. I feel like they'll come to their senses. I think they're just, you know, talking it up, and I think this fight, I think it'll happen before any other fight. Um,
I hope it
but
does.
yeah, I hope it does too, man. And I already know who I'm rocking with, and I think a lot of people are agree that Crawford is better of the two. Um, so done with that area, done with that subject. Shawn Porter and Crawford, we could finally move on from it. Um, we agree to disagree, which is fine. But which just brings us to the two fights that are happening this weekend, man. You got your Fulton and Figueroa, which sucks because they're really not getting that recognition that they
That's
should.
very upsetting to me that
It's very
that fight's
upsetting.
not. I mean, that fight was supposed to happen back in October.
No, September.
I mean September. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but I mean due to the COVID. COVID's kind of killed a lot of fights this year and set a lot of fights back. I mean, look at the Theo fight too. I mean, that had a lot to do with Thriller. I mean, it actually started with COVID and then it went to Thriller mess and all this other crap.
Yeah, so the crap.
But I mean, going to Fulton Figueroa, man. I mean, I'm thinking we're about to see the fight of the year right here. And I
You
can
use
tell
that
you,
word a lot. You use that word a lot, bro. You
no,
think
I
every
mean,
fight's
this
fight
one
of the
right here,
year.
though. I
Yeah, no,
mean,
you're right though. You're right. You're
but I
right.
mean, this one right here. I mean, people can actually see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're
I
right.
mean, Figueroa is a brawler. He looks like a pretty boy, but that son of a bitch could fight. I mean, he could fight, bro. I mean, he's not a. He's strong. Fulton is quick, but I've seen him wear down, you know, and I think with Figueroa's body attack, Figueroa's combination attack, I just think it's gonna be. I I think that's what's gonna win it for him. I have it split decision,
Hmm.
Figueroa, and a very close one though. Like I don't see none of these cards. I think this weekend on that card, I don't see none of the cards being stupid like they've been the last 2 weeks. You know, none of these like 117, 110s, none of this crap. I'm thinking we're gonna see a like 115, 113, or something like that. 115, 114. We're gonna see something cool like that. I mean, but this fight this weekend, Figueroa and Fulton is really getting overshadowed by, I mean, Kambosos and
Lopez.
Theo.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
mean, which is sad,
yeah, it's
but
sad.
it's
But
but
hey,
hey, I mean, we get a lot of boxing Saturday.
yeah, we definitely get a lot of boxing Saturday. I know I've never even seen them side by side. Did you see how they looked weighing in?
Uh, Figueroa's a little taller than Fulton.
He just looks bigger, period. Like
Yeah,
his
he's
his,
he's a
his
big boy, bro.
shoulders.
He's yeah,
Yeah,
he's
he's
he's wide framed, very wide framed, which actually think he gained a lot of muscle coming into this fight,
yeah, he said
and,
this
and
is
it
his
looked
last
like
fight there
it.
too at
Yeah,
this
it looked
division.
like it that he gained a lot of muscle on him, and Fulton is Fulton. Fulton's always looked like a beast at weigh-in. Fulton's always looked like a beast in the ring. But this is the battle of the youngins, bro. I mean, who's gonna take the 122? Who's gonna
And it's
unify?
dude, it's a unification. Yeah.
Who's
And
gonna
that's the see,
unify this one?
and that's the thing.
And
Nobody's really talking about that much.
hmm
Like this is like, when people talk about boxing, like those are big accomplishments right there, a
that's a big word
unification.
in boxing.
Yeah. And some they throw it around freely, but dude, this is a legit unification at 122.
Yep.
Like I
And
said,
Figueroa, he's talking about going up to 126. I mean,
yeah,
this is why I believe he'll go out on his high horse at 122. You know, to set him up for the 126. I mean, he goes up to 126. You have options now. Leo Santa Cruz come back. I mean, you have. I mean, Anuye can go up and wait and fight at this weight. You have all this stuff going on, bro. I mean, that division, Gary Russell
where
in
is
that
Gary Russell
division.
at? Someone
I
find Gary
mean,
Russell.
yeah, I mean that's in that that's the 126. He's a 126 title holder.
Yeah.
So I mean, it makes sense that he wants to go up there and fight. At 126. But like I said, I have it split decision.
Hmm.
Going into the Theo Cambosos.
I didn't even get to do my breakdown. Hold on.
Yeah, no, of
Hold
course,
on.
that's what I'm saying. I was getting into mine, so you can get into yours. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So those are, I guess, your keys for victory. Those are what you think in the Fulton fight. And I even told you that I thought that Fulton would win a split decision or win a decision, or do I say win late? I
Yeah,
don't
you
know what I
said he would
said.
win late, but I don't see
Yeah.
that happening at all,
Yeah.
bro.
And I think because I've never, like on paper, you see like height, weight, and stuff, and you really don't get to see like what body masses look like. And in boxing, of course, it's all about skill. It's not really about who's bigger than who. But when you throw in like what Figueroa does, like he's just aggressive. He's just relentless. He doesn't. He has like this tremendous gas tank. He don't get tired. He just wears you down. I think
It's
Fulton
at
will have.
levels.
I think Fulton will have some success a little bit early, but I just think it's just like now, like I'm changing my mind because, like I said, I didn't really see how they looked side by side, and I usually like to make that even up until the moment when they walk in. I'll still even text you when they're in the ring and they're doing the national anthem. I'm like, oh, I'm actually changing my mind. I'm going to go with this guy. So like, I never really have like a full unless I'm like, okay, that's my official pick.
Yeah,
But
no, I
like,
understand that. I understand.
I have to definitely change up on that pick. And I'm actually gonna say that Figueroa is gonna most likely get this stoppage late. Um, I just think that body attack will be too much, and
It's
Fulton, yeah,
possible.
and Fulton did turn it around against Angelo Leo. People wanted to see the questions they have for him were answered, like as far as his conditioning. There's no doubt in my mind that he's going to come in 100% ready.
Oh
But
yeah,
is he ready for this kind of fight that Figueroa is going to bring?
yep. We talk
That's
about
what it's going to come
levels.
down
We
to.
talk about levels in the fight game, and like I
For
said,
me, I
yeah,
don't think. I think
Fulton's
this.
hungry.
Yeah, he's hungry. And in levels, when we talk levels, it's like it's skill. Like for me, when I speak of level, I think it's skill. As far as skill wise, I think Fulton is a better skilled boxer, but Figueroa is he's a little unorthodox, but it's just his relentless. You know, he's got the name Figueroa. Just look at his lineage. He's got fighter in his family in his blood. So it levels, yes. I think Fulton is a better skilled boxer, but when it comes to fighting, like I think Figueroa's on that kind of a level over him is when
Yeah,
it
the ring
comes to this
IQ is a
fighting.
little bit higher
Yeah,
than Fulton. I mean, like I said, Fulton's coming. He he did get a stoppage his last fight, but you could see the conditioning issues going into the round of the stoppage that he had.
yeah,
Um, like I said, not taking away from his game. I'm pretty sure he came coming in well prepared for this fight. But like I said, Figueroa, um, I just think I have it going split decision. Like I said, I really do. I really do think Fulton's gonna have his shine, in this fight.
yeah. I think early
And,
on.
and but I believe it's gonna be early when he does. I believe anything from the fifth on, he's gonna have to put away Figueroa early in order to win the fight.
Or not even early, just like
Like
you
win
hit it.
the
Does
early
he?
rounds.
He's gonna have to at least keep Figueroa honest, or to make him think about wanting to come in and attack. He's got to land something earlier. Even if he's able to land like a body shot that could offset Figueroa, make him think twice about coming in. But
Mm-hmm.
we're not gonna know. I don't think we'll know really until that fight actually happens, or
Yep.
when the
And
fight is going
until
on
the
and
bell
we see it.
rings.
Yeah,
Yep.
until we see it. Yeah, you're right, man. You're definitely
Yeah,
right.
man.
And like you said, going into the next one with Kambosos and excuse me, Lopez. It's this has a long fucking timeline on it. Going back
let's
to
let's let's start
August.
with let's start from back there. I'm kidding. I'm messing with
Yeah,
you. Nah, but this fight, bro. I mean, Dale became kind of somewhat of our boy when he came to Tucson. I mean, I got to speak with him. You got to speak with him. Like the takeover is gonna show what's up this fight. I mean, yes, I was an early favorite of Kambosos. And but just seeing what Dale wants to do, I think Dale's just setting himself up, for a big fight. I mean, after this fight, I mean, if he beats Kambosos, and I think he said before 7, he's gonna take him out.
yeah, he wants to end it
And
early.
I mean, I have it about maybe fifth if he does knock him out. It's just Kambosos, though. I mean, you can't really say he's a pushover.
He's not. It sucks
He's
because
not.
I
I mean,
I
he
think he's
has.
one of those guys that's going unnoticed. Like I would even throw him, in that whole lightweight discussion, not in the top five, but he definitely can compete with any of these other guys. He would
Yes,
give
he can.
any of those top 1 to 5 trouble. I mean, even win a fight against somebody.
Yeah. I mean, he has a lot of power. I mean, a lot of people don't know, but he has a lot of right hand power. Very heavy handed right hand. And he has a very lethal left hook, which he loves to use a lot.
Mhm.
But I think that's where Dale can capitalize on got Camboza's mistake. That left hook, I believe, comes a little wide, a little slower than I think Dale has seen. I mean, I think Loma's is faster than his for sure.
Oh yeah,
But I think it's enough for Dale to recognize. Because Dale did get hit with Loma's left hook, which would be the difference in the fight too. On Cambozo's side, if Cambosos could land the hook, and keep the distance with Dale, I mean, then okay, a long night for Dale, very long night. I believe Dale comes in and he avoids getting hit by that left hook. I think it's going to be counter city. I mean, the jab's going to be that. I think the jab's really going to win this for him, this fight. I think he keeps him away with the jab. Theo comes out with his combinations, and I think we see flashes of the Loma fight. How he came out strong. It's just the middle rounds is where he became. I mean, where we saw a conditioning factor too for him as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be another key factor in Kambosos winning the fight too, because I think there's a lot of talk that Theo came in looking dry. I mean, I didn't see it. I thought he
I
looked fine.
I didn't see it
I
either.
thought he looked fine. I mean, but I mean, we don't know that. It's not the body personally. When we saw him here, he was hydrating a shitload, which we saw, and he's doing the same thing currently, just hydrating. And I don't know if that's just because the weight factor, because I've been hearing too. I believe I don't know if it was Copinger that talked about it or Teddy Atlas that talked about it, but about Theo like having a weight issue right now. He's been fluctuating his weight, back and forth, 147, 154, 147, 154, and it's kind of, to me, I mean, he looked good. I mean, he still came out, with the weight, but just, I just feel Theo wins this by 5 rounds.
Yeah, for sure. And it was. I think that was the issue. I think people are just assuming that it was the weight, and I don't think he's ever struggled on the scale at all. So
No, I don't think so either.
he's got the receipts to back it up that he shows up to fight. Yes, this fight has taken a long time. It goes back to the original date, which was June 5th, even as of October 20th, when they finally officially gave us the date for tomorrow.
Thank
Um,
you to Zone too.
yeah, to see what I mean,
We,
the zone could make it happen. With the Crawford, I hate to get off subject, but I don't think it has anything really to do with Crawford. But when you look at the 135,000, I think that is what will make Hearn a little hesitant, and which he shouldn't even be hesitant. He should just know who he has,
mm-hmm.
the name he has right there. Like, he can do wonders, even if it's not like he has to make that fight tomorrow or next month. Like, you can promote this fight a little bit more, and
Yeah, no,
people love the zone. There's very few
yeah.
haters. There's
I
very
mean,
few
look at the
haters.
next 2 weeks.
It's usually the PBC guys that do not like Eddie Hearn for some reason, which is stupid. But
Yeah, but everybody on the other side of PVC block is running us doing too much of that.
yeah, yeah, nobody's doing anything at all whatsoever. With the
But
fight, with this fight, yeah, definitely, I agree. Like, Kambosos is definitely getting overlooked. He can easily compete with anybody in the top five. If I was to pick anybody that he could beat in the top five, I think Ryan Garcia is probably the weakest of that five, in that lightweight. I mean, in that division. So I could see him beating, Garcia. I could even see him possibly beating, even Jojo Diaz. Like, that would be a really good fight later on down the road. I
yeah,
would love to see
no,
that, and him fighting for the zone. I think this is his first time fighting for the zone, right?
yeah, but well, yeah, because Haney had his first one his last fight, so
Yeah, and I
this
was
is
even hearing that since he brought along Kambosos there, that Hearn actually hired another Australian fight, or he actually um, signed an Australian fighter. I don't remember who it was. Like, it was, I heard it briefly. Like, I was doing stuff in the garage and I was listening to some other talking about boxing. They said that he brought another fighter over from Australia. So there's going to be more names added to the zone's roster. As far as where I feel like this fight is going to end up, I could see it maybe ending maybe like 7, maybe 8, and not an easy 7-8, because Cambosa's he's not a pushover. He just doesn't got the name, or he doesn't have like the push that he should get, because he's a really good fighter. I think we see Lopez definitely starting fast. Like, he did it against Lomo. What makes you think he's not going to do it against Cambosos, especially having
a slower Cambosos, I believe. Because
yeah,
Loma's a
he
whole
is
lot
slower.
faster than him.
Yeah, and then especially seeing that there's so much shit that people are talking. Like, people are forgetting like how good Lopez really is.
Yeah,
Like,
too much
Lopez,
disrespect.
yeah, he's another guy chip on the shoulder type of fighter, and I love those type of fighters, the chip on the shoulder type of guy that's got always got something to prove. Like, yeah, he's running his mouth a little bit, but he has every reason to. He has every reason to run his mouth because he actually is who he says he is. So I think along with the naysayers, the people that are assuming that he had weight issues, that he's not going to come in hydrated. He made the weight easily. He didn't look dry to me. He looked solid. Full of energy. He's just chewing gum like typical guys
Like
do.
he always does.
But dude, yeah, that's what I think. The takeover is going to continue,
Hmm.
and I've always liked Lopez. I can't remember the first fight I watched, but I think a lot of those a lot of those questions were answered when he beat Comey. And
Yep.
Comey was a legit threat, and look what he did. He dismantled him early. Nah, but yeah, dude, I definitely got Lopez winning. I got Lopez winning like 7 rounds. A good fight. A good fight. Definitely what it is. We could
It's gonna be
thank
a
Eddie
good
Hearn.
7 round fight. Tell you that right now.
Yeah, we could definitely thank Eddie Hearn for stepping in there. We know
Yep.
Triller lost
Daddy
their
Eddie.
ass. Yeah, we know Triller lost their ass. Oh, shit.
Yeah. I'm very,
Trying
very.
to
I'm
trying to make
very.
this fight happen. Like
Thriller
they should
is
have known
off
how
my
serious it
book.
was.
George.
You're back.
Hey. There you are.
Ugh.
Yeah. Thriller's on my shit list.
Yeah, Thriller
You
should have
know.
known. Like they should have known that this whole shit with Thriller when Mayweather came on and said, "No, you guys can't fight in the same weekend." It wasn't even they're fighting the same day. Like Mayweather was fighting on Sunday, so they should have known. Not to. I don't. I think Thriller loses her ass. They're still making fights though. They're definitely still making fights.
Yeah,
Um,
but they're. I don't think they're gonna be dealing with a lot of boxers no more. And after
no.
this mess, I mean, they messed up 3 times, and it took Eddie a purse bid to come out and make this happen. Well, like we said, I mean, big ups to Eddie Hearn in the zone. I mean, for making the fight happen finally,
Hmm.
and we could finally see the takeover again. I mean, let him do his thing, let the world see, remember who the hell he is.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, for
it's
sure,
been a
bro.
long time since he's been in the ring too, so let's get him out there. Let's just hope for a good show this weekend on both fights.
Yeah. And real quick, I know before we finish up here, two things. One, me and Carlos Jackson, we've kind of been messaging each other. He told me to look out for his homie Mike Sills. He's fighting Mike Platinum Perry, former UFC star. I don't know if you saw like the weigh-in, like Perry was trying to get in this dude's head, like Mike Seals had his head, and
Oh yeah,
Mike
yeah,
Seals is
yeah,
not
yeah.
going for it, dude. Mike Seals. Jackson Carlos told me, he's like, dude, he's like, my boy is gonna put the hands on him. He goes, I promise you, like he has legit power. And I was watching some of his highlights. That dude is no joke. So shout outs to Mike Sills from Off the Ropes, from Julian and me.
Heck
We know
yeah.
you got this shit. Big shout out to Carlos Jackson as well. If you guys want to
Yep.
follow those guys on
Talked
Instagram,
to him today too a little bit, man.
yeah.
Homie was shopping.
If you want to follow Mike Sills on Instagram, it's Cannon Hands with a Z, and then
Cannon
Carlos
hands.
Jackson. At Carlos Jackson, and then I love to close the show out with um, fights that
The
happened this
fights
month.
today.
There was 3 fights that happened in these last 10 years in the month of November. The first one that I'm gonna come across and I'm gonna let you know is the third fight between Eric Morales and Marco Antonio Barrera.
Talking to him about it. One of the
Um,
best
I mean, if you want to
trilogies of all
see,
time. Yeah, it's always.
we're back. So,
Yeah, I mean it's. I mean Marco
I'll
Antonio
hurry it up.
Barrera and Eric Morales, the start of their
Yeah, I'll hurry
trilogy
it up. Yeah,
fight.
definitely. You guys want to see some good boxing. These Is it both of us?
I'm chilling. I'm waiting for you.
Did you just see like we lost connection?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
but yeah, I mean that was the start of their trilogy, man. I mean,
it was actually the third fight. It was the third fight in 2004. The next one, I'll go quick. I'll go quickly before we lose connection again. So the next fight that happened 2011 was Miguel Cotto versus Shane Mosley. That was the Miguel Cotto before the Margarito, which was a beast, dude. Mayweather ran scared from this guy. I don't care what anybody says. Mayweather was afraid of this guy. He was so afraid that he even fought Miguel Cotto's training partner when he promised Miguel Cotto the fight.
don't let the fanboys hear you, bro.
I don't give a damn. And then the third fight on my list is the third, also another third fight between Manny Pacquiao and Marquez. You know, another. This one's a four fight in history, but a great pair of fighters that are gonna go down in history for some wars, man.
Yep, that
Good
indeed.
shit, very good
I
shit,
mean,
very
we
very
could
good
talk
shit.
about Monaco Antonio Barrera and Eric Morales is the best trilogy of all time.
And to you Spanish speakers out there, if you guys are listening, we dropped off some of our listeners, but if you guys are coming across this,
A
go check
boxeo
their
único.
tubes out. Yeah, check
A
out their
boxeo
YouTube pages.
único. You
It's
can
the
boxeo
shit.
azteca. All of you. I
Muchos
mean, we love.
saludos,
Yep.
dude. Good shit. I love it. Like I watch it now. I watch that one now. It's good stuff. Um.
Yep.
So
And
yeah,
we have.
Julian, man. Oh, go
Hey
ahead. I'm
man, it was a
sorry.
good night, man. Good session here with y'all, man. I mean, but tomorrow night, everybody tune in to the fights. I mean, it's gonna be a very entertaining night. And I
Very.
mean, from us here at Off the Ropes, man,
Yeah.
appreciate y'all.
Thank you guys. We'll talk to you guys soon. We'll be doing a recap on those other fights. You know, if you haven't liked or subscribed, you know, go ahead and subscribe to our page. You can also find us on our Instagram page. I marked it here in the comments. It'll be in the description. So, you know, come along with us. We're new to this. I mean, we've been doing our page for a little while, our podcast, but we're definitely still trying to push forward, man. And we're just trying to show you guys our passion. And I believe all these other boxing pages out there, they do good. They all do good in their own right, and everybody's got a story to tell. And that's all we're doing here is giving you guys our story on what the sport we love, boxing. We also got MMA stuff in there too. So again, signing off from me and Julian. Much love to you guys. We'll be talking to you guys soon.
Pound for pound, pound for pound.